I'm honored to be speaking at Share conference again this year, and thank you for having me. As Evie mentioned, my background, I've been lucky to work with some amazing brands. I'm currently marketing director at OpenTable. Great company. Quick plug for OpenTable for those of you who haven't used it. Hopefully most of you have. We're the world's leading provider of online restaurant reservations. We've got 38,000 now restaurants on our network globally. And we seat over 20 million diners per month. We operate in 8 countries. And more than 50% of our bookings are mobile. So mobile is super important for us. First of all, I think it's fantastic that BrightEdge has put together this career track. Career development is an area I'm passionate about. And I think just in general, people don't spend enough time thinking about their career or planning their next step or steps. That said, most presentations I do have charts and data and year-over-year growth rates. So bear with me, this is an unusual type of presentation for me in that it's purely qualitative, and almost everything in the content in here is my own thoughts and views on career track and development. So first of all, how do people become successful in the first place? Spend some time thinking about this. I mean, everyone has heard many different career success stories, and there's a lot that goes into that. There's so many factors. But what I hear again and again when I hear these stories is there's 3 things that stand out, and I hear it in every story. And the first one, and this is super important, is that the person in the story believed in themselves. It sounds obvious, but I think that can't be overstated, and it's the core of all of these stories. The second thing is that at least one person somewhere along the line in the background for this person gave them a break. And I think we all can think back in our career to the early part of it when someone took a chance on you, gave you a break. I think that's really huge. For me, early in my digital marketing career, I worked at Williams-Sonoma. My manager, Jessica, was amazing, like fantastic manager. But she took a chance on me. On my resume at the time, there was some digital marketing, but I wouldn't say there was anything that stood out as indicating that I would be ready to do digital marketing for a large-scale e-commerce site and ready to lead an area of SEO for that company. She took a chance. The last thing is I think for people who become successful, they recognize that when they get an opportunity, those don't come along every day. And when they do get an opportunity, they really go for it, and they do whatever they need to do to not hold anything back. So in thinking about internal barriers to career success, I think there are probably a number of these that we've all had. When I thought about it, these are the 5 internal barriers that I've had in my career at different points, or that I thought about, and I think a lot of people do. The first one is fearing change. So human nature, I mean, we're comfortable in our routines. It's incredibly comfortable, I think, to be competent at your job. I mean, it's a good feeling, right? You go to work, you know what to expect, you can do it. It's not so comfortable when your boss tells you, hey, we're gonna have you lead this other area coming up, or what do you think about working on this other team in our department, or even thinking about going to a different company? The next one I think that's common is that people will sometimes believe that they could be ordained for leadership. And what I mean by that is, and I've had this in the past, is, you're thinking to yourself, I'm working hard, I'm demonstrating leadership potential, and one day someone from above is just going to reach down and decree that I'm now a company leader. And I think, it's easy to think that, but in reality, it really just doesn't work that way. Even though you're doing a great job, you kind of have to make it to the next level, you have to prove that you can do it, right? So you have to start taking on bits or little things that are available to you at the next level. The next thing is that not believing in your own unique style of leadership. So I tend to be really enthusiastic and positive energy type of person at work. And I've thought in the past, well, when you look at executives and CEOs, they're incredibly tough. They're always judging everything. And could I become a company leader with my personality and my style? And I think one thing I've learned is that there are many types of leadership, or there are many styles of leadership that could be effective, right? And think about like Richard Branson, great business leader, inspiring, positive energy, values-driven. Think about like Tim Cook, different style, but unique, and also seems like a friendly type of leader. So I think there's a lot of possibilities there. Next one, I think, is not believing that you deserve success. That one, you just got to get over it. You deserve success. And the last one, holding back. And like I said, when you get that big opportunity or chance to do a presentation or something, you can't hold anything back. You got to drive a bus through it. So in this one, I'm talking about what can you do to break through the internal barriers that we just talked about. So one thing is I think you need to recognize the moment. And sometimes it's pretty subtle. You're busy at work, and your boss might say to you, hey, I'm going to be out of town next week, and do you mind taking a shot at leading our team meeting or department meeting? Or, hey, could you help me with the first draft of this forecast or presentation or something? Those opportunities don't come along every day. So you need to recognize, even though it might seem subtle, that this is a big chance for you to show what you can do and to show that you're ready for another level. Now, this is a kind of a common phrase, but unspectacular preparation, I think, leads to spectacular achievement. When you see the end result, it's usually not something that happened overnight. It's the result of a ton of work and hours preparing for something. So one of my favorite all-time bands is the Rolling Stones. And I remember reading an interview a few years ago with Mick Jagger, and they were asking him, what do you do to prepare for when you go on tour, when you're going to be playing live? And he talked about how he spends countless hours working with a vocal coach on his singing, working with a personal trainer on his fitness level, working with a choreographer on his dance moves. And it struck me as being pretty amazing, I thought, because, you figure the guy's been doing music since the beginning of time. Couldn't he just phone it in? Why is he working so hard to prepare for this? But it made me, when I thought about it, well, the idea of somebody who's over 70 putting on an exciting live performance on a big stage is pretty spectacular. And it probably takes a ton of work with that. So the next thing is, how can you be ready? So when something comes along, when an opportunity comes along, what does it take? And I think, this is another old quote, but fortune favors the prepared mind. I think for a lot of us, we need to prepare in the morning for many days at work, especially the big days, a big presentation. And I don't know, it depends on what works for you, but it could be yoga, exercise, meditation, self-reflection, some combination of that. And then practice. I think when I practice the time for this presentation, for that presentation you're doing at work, there's no amount of practice you could do that would be too much, I think, sometimes. The last one is, how can you get around the idea of being afraid or holding yourself back? With this one, what works for me is I tend to think of what's the worst that could happen? It's so common in human nature where you think, wow, if I screw up that presentation to the exec team, I'm fired. And your mind immediately goes to that. But truth is, you're probably not going to be fired, right? And if you hold back, you're not really going to learn anything from it. So this is somewhat of an SEO conference. But one thing is, even though I've led SEO or led SEO teams for years, and I think SEO is amazing, I've never really wanted to call myself an SEO or label myself that way. And a couple of reasons for that. One, I really think that the best projects are not one channel. There are always some combination of channels or some looking for channel overlap. And then two, I think it's career limiting because from a senior leadership point of view, they're thinking about the whole company. Senior leaders are channel and platform agnostic. I mean, if the next big idea, and they're thinking about ROI, so if the next big idea, if you can show that mobile PPC ads have a better ROI than Facebook ads, great. They don't care if it's mobile or not or what channel, right? So when it comes to how you can be as a marketer, the I-shaped marketer is a subject matter expert, right? So you're an expert in SEO, and it goes all the way deep. I mean, every technical element to it, you've got it. Generalist, somebody that knows a lot about different marketing areas, but they don't have deep knowledge in any area. And I think that can be a problem in that the experts may not respect you because they know that you're not really an expert in anything. And the last thing is being a T-shaped marketer, and you might have seen this. I grabbed that graphic from Rand Fishkin, the brilliant thought leader in SEO, and I think he had that in a presentation. And the idea being having a broad knowledge of different marketing areas and understanding, but having in-depth knowledge of at least one area. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, maybe we could go one step further than that. And I really think that in our world, marketing and product are inherently linked. I mean, think about it, every click has a landing experience for the most part. So when you're ignoring, if you don't know a lot about product or how to work with the product team, you're ignoring a big part of your marketing, right? Because you're drawing people to the site and they're getting there, but when they're landing there, you don't know as much about what's happening. So I think that it's good to develop, same thing as like a broad knowledge of marketing, a broad knowledge of product areas, landing pages, UX, A/B testing. And then it's probably good if you have at least one in-depth knowledge area of where product and marketing connect. So I don't have, all of this, but for me, I have in-depth knowledge of content development and SEO, which connects really strongly to landing page development, product, UX, A/B testing. The other thing, besides that I think it can lead to some successful projects, the other thing is that you'll earn the respect of senior management. Because when you think about it, if you build bridges within your team, great, Scott gets along with other people on the marketing team. That's nice. But if you are seen as somebody who can build bridges to other departments, wow, Scott has a really close relationship with that person on product. That's pretty good. It shows that you have that kind of like whole company point of view. Another thing I've thought about in terms of your career progress is that being an expert in a certain area I think is great. But when it comes to why you might get promoted or not, I think a lot of times from what I've seen, it relates to the other skills, the general business skills that are not technical SEO knowledge, canonical tags, things like that, right? So I'm talking about forecasting, managing a budget, doing analysis and reporting that's clear, leading a team, negotiating with a vendor or an agency, presenting to different levels at the company, from your team to exec team. I really think it's these type of general business skills that would show that you could do anything at the company. So if the person in senior management said, okay, so he's doing this area, but he's got these general business skills, he could manage a budget, he could probably run this other team, right? It makes you kind of transferable in some ways. So you might think, how can I get these type of skills? So my boss owns the budget. My boss owns the forecast. One thing, you can volunteer to take something off your boss's plate, and I've done this before. There's not as much separation, I think, from what your boss owns and from you as you think. So you might say something like, hey, I noticed you're really busy. How about I take the first stab at that forecast we need for next quarter, or that analysis. And I think you might be surprised to see that your boss is pretty happy about that because they have a ton on their plate. And if you do it as like a first draft, great. And then you could work together on it, improving it. I think that's all I've got. Thank you. Appreciate it.